Or busy, let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Brian,
That would be good.
Brian, is the screen share good?
Even that.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
this week. We actually have some more winter weather on the way, if you haven't heard, and we have Dave Martin, who is a meteorologist with the National Weather Service here at State College here. Going to talk a little bit about what's gone on recently and then give us the details and what to expect. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome. About a year ago I was here, and similar weather pattern to about a year ago. It was early April, late March, where it was dry, but generally not very warm. The last two talks have talked about a little bit of break for spring break, and we did have a few mild days like back on Monday here. We've gotten to the 50s. However, since late 2013, around November 2013 into last March, April, it was generally cooler than normal a lot of the time. Then we had a wet summer, as been discussed several times, and we got a little break on the spring break, but basically, even though we had a warm December, mild December here, we're going to just go over February here and start off with lake effect ice cover from 2 days ago.
You might just want to click in the bottom there to expand it. Here, I'll show you. This one right here. Next one up there. Should make it full.
You enable it first.
There you go.
So Lake Michigan's pretty well open here. Quite a bit of ice up on the upper lakes here. The big one for us is Lake Erie. Started to break up on the western side here. And we got some wind from the west every day, but eastern areas of Lake Erie may not totally lose the ice for another month there. It'll be mid to late April in the Buffalo Harbor area. Lake Ontario looks pretty good, except this area right here is actually ice covered. I went to school with SUNY Oswego, and that water is pretty deep. It's almost 1,000 feet deep, so that's a lot of ice for Lake Ontario.
Space bar. For the arrow. You just hit the space bar.
Yeah, okay.
Should go. There you go.
For February, Williamsport turned out to be the coldest on record for Williamsport, 18.1 degrees. The old record was 19.3 in 1934. That's one year where Lake Ontario got flooded to ice. This month, Williamsport was the third coldest on record. The first coldest month was January 1977 at 14.9, and the second was 1918 at 16.5. For Harrisburg, it was 20.9 degrees. That's the coldest February on record. The old record was 1934 at 21.4. That's the fourth coldest record month on record. First was January 1918. Second was January 1977. And back when we first came here, 1994 January was down to 20.3. Some other nearby sites, Binghamton had the coldest February, second coldest month, and the number of days with below zero temperatures, minimum temperatures. That's the record number for them. Same for Syracuse, second most snow for February. That's the third, greatest snow depth on average. Scranton had the third coldest February and the fourth coldest month. Buffalo, coldest month on record. Didn't get above freezing the whole time for February. Last time that occurred was February 1978. And again, most number of days below zero, minimum temperatures below zero. What's weird about Buffalo is November had a lot of lake effect snow, if you remember, several feet, like 7 to 8 feet. But the snow in February was basically very little lake effect. Rochester, same thing, coldest month on record, tied 1979 February for the greatest number of days below zero. Greatest number of days of measurable snowfall at Rochester. If you go over to Erie, the minus 18 degrees on the morning of the 16th, that's the coldest temperature on record for February. A couple of years ago, in March 2012, if you remember, it was pretty nice around here. It was in the 70s. Some sites across southern Pennsylvania got into the low to mid 80s. We paid the price. A lot of the fruit crops, especially the apple crop, was damaged by frost and freeze that April. So big variation from one year to another. So far this year, we've seen some warm temperatures in California this month. Back on Sunday and Monday, I may show that time. Really warm into the plains, even to Minnesota, where it was in the 70s, even 80s. And what I'm going to talk about, after I get done here, is what's coming late tonight, tomorrow. Then, next few days, we're just going to be on the cold side.
If you just click, it should go up.
Okay. On a large scale, this is the current visible for the U.S. You still see some snow cover across New York State, some high clouds coming in here, and just a lot of cloudiness across the southern states here. That's the current visible here. And you see the Finger Lakes here. You can see a lot of ice on Lake Erie today yet. Beside the high clouds, the edge of the real thicker stuff to the southwest. We're getting some across Center County here. This is the current 850 millibar plot. Looking at northwest Florida. Temperature is minus 17 at Albany, New York, minus 13 over Michigan, so pretty cold for this time of year. Going up to 500 millibars, we're looking at basically a split flow here, cut off over the southwest. The only flow across here is west-northwest, and basically still pretty cold at 500 millibars, starting to ease off here. As you probably have heard, the big problem for late tonight and tomorrow is, not rain or flooding or severe weather, but snow. This is various plots here I've looked at in the last few days. Not a big variation. Zero line is south of Pennsylvania. This is valid coming up here right now, but what's going to happen here is, see, you can go out to tonight, look at 850 here. Basically, zero line is trying to edge up towards southwest Pennsylvania. We're still pretty dry. This is the WRF and the ABM RH. Still dry across our area, but zero line is trying to edge up towards Pittsburgh here. Go a little bit further out in time. See, moisture starts working into southern Pennsylvania just after midnight here. Zero line is into the western Pennsylvania area, but the air mass is pretty dry. You got upward motion forecast, warm advection, and you might start somewhere as rain if you don't cool off with the clouds tonight. But, looking at basically the 850 line just kind of retreats back to the south by tomorrow morning, and other than when it first starts, maybe when it starts to end tomorrow during the day with the March sun, it's hard to see much of anything other than snow here. QPF wise, it's not a big low pressure system. precipitable water by, just after midnight here. The higher amounts are basically down south of Pennsylvania. We're just not getting a lot of precipitable water. So QPF looking at by 0Z, still south of the border. These light blues are in the quarter-inch rain or a little bit less. Go tomorrow morning. Been some variation, but most areas are getting a quarter-inch QPF, a little bit heavier down to the southwest. The Weather Service at State College has a winter weather advisory out. Last I looked for most of the area. Some of the Miles McKean and Bedford County to get a little bit heavier. Not always the most likely spot to get. Mike and I worked the evening shift last night and discussed it. So it's not really the county you might suspect to get heavier. You might suspect Somerset, higher elevations there. But look at basically about a quarter-inch near the most areas, a little less towards the New York border, then towards the Maryland border by about a half-inch. Basically, worst case, assuming 10-to-1 on the snowfall ratio, you're probably looking at a couple inches near the New York border for the total, and maybe 3 to 6 across the south here. The big problem is it warms up during the day here, and you get the sun on the pavement, but it cools off after dark, and there's not a lot of treatment on the roads from previous storms. I see they're putting some brine on the interstate here. But, it's going to be coming in at rush hour tomorrow, and that's going to make for less than a great commute across southern Pennsylvania, even up in this area. Most of the QPF is starting to shift to the east tomorrow by 18Z, and by 48 hours, pretty well out of our area out towards eastern Pennsylvania and New England here. This is a GFS here. I'm going to run through this quickly. That's the surface pattern here. 06Z. Again, we're looking at high pressure off the coast. 540 line trying to nudge in here. Just a weak low down here, and we troughing this back here. What I want to show here is a transition from short term, coming into tomorrow into the weekend here. We're going back to this display here. Again, I'm going back to tomorrow afternoon. The system to the west falls apart. Coastal takes over here. Again, a little bit of a blocking high to the north, but pretty fast flow at 500 millibars here. And the big thing is this west coast ridge again I've been mentioning in this polar vortex. So whoever forms on the coast is going to be moving out pretty fast here. So I don't have a problem anything wrapping around this low tomorrow. The heights here, 500 millibar heights, GFS heights. Again, there's the polar vortex as you come into the weekend, and basically that west coast ridge split flow here. And go further out in time here. Basically, vortex is moving north out here again, and go back to this other display, easier to see. So this is here, back up on top here, too far out there. This is the 21st here, so it's coming Friday evening. See the low off the coast. That moves out. Big thing is the thickness gradient to the north of here this weekend, coming into the weekend. Secondary front coming in, nothing really going with it. This is northerly flow. It's just reinforcing the cold air as you come into Sunday. Not as cold as what we had, of course, because it's March, but it's cold enough. 540 line dropping south of here, and as you head into Monday, not much change. Just large high pressure. The only thing I saw last night at work was as you come into midweek, Tuesday high still over us, but as you come into midweek, seeing a plane system over the plains coming towards us, and the 540 lines into Michigan there by Wednesday, and going to be a good stretch of dry weather, but it's going to take a while for it to warm up. Looks like later Wednesday would be your best bet to warm up here. Pretty good warm convection Wednesday evening, Thursday. And upper level is cut off over the southwest, and reasonably high heights, so maybe getting back to more normal temperatures by Thursday here next week. Meantime, we had to put up with some snow tonight and several days of well below normal temperature. How are we doing for time?
We have till 1, so about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Show some other maps here. As I said, it's been warm in some areas. These are temperatures yesterday. Basically, we're in the 20s and 30s, low 40s yesterday. Parts of the high plains are in the 60s here. Previous day, we had some 70s, even 80s down to the south here in the Carolinas. Previous day, the warm air was not that far away. These are max temperatures ending on the 16th here. So basically, this is what I want to show. The Dakotas, western Minnesota, into the central plains here, in the mid-80s, way above normal. I think there's probably some records out there. The previous day it wasn't that bad, southwest Minnesota, 63 degrees. Other thing that stands out is that 90-degree heat and stuff. Southern California there, much need of some widespread rain. You can see the 90-degree readings down there, low 80s across much of California. These are temps ending on the 13th. Again, seeing a huge area of 70s across the plains here, almost to the Canadian border. Very tight temperature readings here. So while it's been cold here, it's been warm not that far away. Very persistent the last year and a half that just keeps sliding into this pattern. These are temps on the 13th. They're again in the 70s here. Florida's been another warm spot lately, and of course California. As far as radar precipitation goes, again, it's going to be after midnight tonight when the snow comes in, and most of it will be out of the western areas by early afternoon tomorrow. See, this is the radar loop here. Nothing even into southern Ohio yet, south of there yet. So that's all I had. Any questions?
Great. Anybody have any questions?
Anybody has anything to add to this blocking ridge over the west?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on
Any thoughts on tomorrow too with the snow? Anybody? Let's do a little guess. How much snow in State College? We'll start with raised by show of hands. 0 to 1. Nobody. Good. 1 to 2. 2 to 3. No one. 3 to 4. So that would. 4 to 5. 5 to 6. Anybody? Anybody above 6? What do you think?
No, ranges for the uncertainty.
We'll be here, all day otherwise. What do you think?
I would say about 3.5.
3.5?
No uncertainty there. I think the spread has like 1.9 to like
big
9.
range.
That's
Right.
going to be the question is,
There's only 4 members under 5 inches.
Right.
still a big variation for
Right.
a short-term threat.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you
But
guys
the
make of
need
that?
somewhere around 6.
His spread was too bad.
Yeah, so what's
A
the,
real spread's about 1 to 9.
yeah, your forecast is 4 to 6, at least your
Yeah.
draft, your
There's
say something.
on the
else.
9Z run, there were only 4 SREF members under 5 inches of snow. If the boundary is warm enough.
And you look at the Altoona strip, it's even stranger. You got this big bifurcation of it.
So I asked the question yesterday, like, a lot of people look at GEFS. The spread has a lot of spread it all the time, most people notice. So the question I asked is, why does the spread always seem to have more variation?
So this is the spread here. This is the
The
9Z run.
Well, is that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The mean is 5.7.
What's the median?
Yeah.
The WPC is going from 4 to 8 here.
Really?
Yeah. From their 25 to their 75th percentile.
They must have stopped. They must have.
That was this morning. That was their 8Z. That was this morning.
Also, what time to start? Some models are starting at 12.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else have any other comments or things they'd like to pull up? All right, great. Well, Charles will be here next week, right? I believe, is it next week? April? Oh, maybe. Okay, well, I'll check. I'll check on that. I thought it was. I'll double check the calendar. But thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. What's that? It's not till, I think it's 26. It will be the 3rd.
So what's the 23rd?
Was that?
Sure.
I may have read it down.
I'm going with two.
That's interesting. That was it. Is it April? Yeah, okay. I thought
That it probably
Okay, you sure? All right, I'll confirm. Like, you can get a color code by core.
I think I counted in my site. Their method's a little different than mine. But I came up with only 4 microns that were less than 5 inches. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 below. I had 4.
Yeah, maybe this is was it the 90 run?
But they might be using an SLR. I don't use SLR. I just use 10-to-1. Some people use SLRs. And then SLR. Like, if you're using an SLR, you don't know how they adjust it. It looks like it's the median is like higher than the median.
Yeah, mine's between like 1.5 and 11.
Thank you, everybody.
They're like, all right.
Really appreciate
We'll go.
it, as always.
Have a good one.